All right, hello everyone. It is Sunday, August 4th, and we're looking at the Port Huron Prowlers. A couple weeks ago, looked at the Danville Dashers, now Dashers hockey, um, and I just want to take a look at some of the older franchises, some of the more established franchises in the league. Before the month is out, I will also be looking at uh, Watertown at the Wolves. And even though it's not been the same franchise, I also want to take a look at Danbury, taking a look at what's made these teams tick and to last in a very somewhat turbulent world of hockey in the Fed. All right, so Port Huron. When Port Huron came into the league, it just seemed like a natural fit. Um, First of all, they were now a travel partner with Danville. Um, there had been a team in Dayton, but that team fell apart, mainly because of a really crappy arena situation. But nonetheless, hockey was not new to Port Huron. They have had hockey, professional hockey, since 1962. McMorran Arena, the arena that you see the Prowlers play in, was built back in 1960. Obviously, it's had some major renovations done, but not too bad looking for a building that's going on 65 years old. So, anyway, um, first in the old IHL, the International Hockey League, which at its peak was competing with the AHL as a premier feeder league for the NHL. They had the Port Huron Flags. There was a 3-year period where the team was affiliated with the Detroit Red Wings, which made sense. So the team was named the Port Huron Wings for those 3 seasons. They won 3 Turner Cups. It was 1966, 71, and 72. So, very successful run there. The IHL left Port Huron as they started moving into bigger markets. They saw that Port Huron was maybe a little bit small. The arena is listed as being able to seat 3,400. I think it's more like about 2,400 for the Fed games, but nonetheless, just going off of Wikipedia. Um, so after that, they had a semi-pro team for a year in the All-American Hockey League. The Port Huron Clippers didn't go so well, and then they had a long run in the old UHL, United Hockey League. What started off as the Colonial Hockey League became the UHL, which then tried to rebrand itself as the new IHL. It didn't work. But anyway, starting from 1996 until 2010, right at the end of the UHL's existence, they started off with the Border Cats, and that ownership group kind of fell apart, moved the team, and a new expansion team was brought in. That was the Beacons, and that's probably the most successful of the UHL teams. Anyway, Beacons were there for 3 seasons, and then we had a renewed version of the Port Huron Flags. It was just such an iconic name, so it made sense that they went back to that. So that lasted until the '07 season, and then for the final 3 seasons in which the league was trying to rebrand itself as the new IHL, it was the Ice Hawks. The UHL was dying; it was on an iron lung. All the teams were losing money, and the Ice Hawks folded. And a month later, the whole league folded. So the writing was on the wall. So after that, there was a brief period of time with NAHL hockey, which of course is junior tier two. The Fighting Falcons played, and then they moved to suburban Pittsburgh area. So once again, the team was left without a team. The city, excuse me, was left without a team. Barry Soskin, as he's done before and would do afterwards, said, "Hey, this would be a really good market. That we're losing Dayton. Let's see if we can build this market up. Let's have a game there." So the Danville Dashers and Danbury uh, Whalers played a game in McMorran Place and had a good turnout. It was seen that this was a good place to put a team. So on April 2nd, 2015, the team is announced. They have a name in the contest, and I think the Prowlers was kind of a little bit of a tip to the cap to the Border Cats. Um, but anyway, yeah, so the Prowlers start their existence in 2015, 2016. The majority of the roster comes from the protected players of the Dayton Demons team. Anyway, so the team starts off its inaugural season and does pretty well. Final record 36, 18, and 1, which was good enough for second place. And then everything just fell into place, and Port Huron ends up beating the Danbury Titans in overtime. Yeah, it was the Whalers for the game, the single game, and then it was the Titans the next year. So anyway, so yeah, way to enter the league. Come on in, win the whole thing. So yeah, it was a good year. Probably could have been better attendance wise. They were under 1,000, but you're in a new market and people are obviously going to be a little bit wary. It's like, okay, this relatively new league, is this going to work out? Are we going to invest our time and money into this? Well, time has proven that it was a good investment. All right, so the following season, the coach I should mention was Trevor Karasevich. So that was his third title as a coach in like 5 years. So he was doing pretty good. All right, so the next season, the team gets off to a slow start. Karasevich is let go, and Joe Pace Sr. becomes the new coach, and a new era kind of begins for Port Huron. For that 2016 to 17 season, they ended up finishing 26, 21, and 9. Just barely missed the playoffs by 5 points. Just Watertown was in the fourth spot. They just couldn't overcome it. Ahmed Mahfouz, one of the players from that team, scored 103 points that season, and Matt Robertson scored 98. So yeah, high octane team that year. The first year, even though they didn't have a ton of points put up by any one particular person, they had players like Dustin Skinner, Mahfouz, Chris Lavelle, Zach Tattern played for the inaugural team. Harris Ludlow Jr., who will be playing for the Wolves this upcoming year. Ryan Devine, who just retired. And, of course, Joe Pace Jr. So, that was quite a team. Okay, skip back up to 2017, 2018. Kind of everyone would say in the 10-year history, this was the golden year. And that team was really something special. Went 44-7-2. And looked like they were a lock to win the whole thing. You had Michael Santaguida, the goaltender, going 24-1-1 with a 2.21 goals against and a 938 save percentage. Just absolutely insane year. And this was the first year that the Prowlers had players like Dalton Jay, Matt Graham, Alex Johnson, those three still there. So they also had Jonathan Giuliano, Yanni Lariakos, Austin Doe played a few games with the team. So did Josh Colton. So I mean, this was a stacked team, and somehow, some way, it didn't work out. Watertown ends up winning the final series 3-1, steals the championship, and Port Huron goes what could have been. It could have been a second championship in 3 years. Move up to the 2018 to 2019 season. Joe Pace Sr. now becomes coach of the expansion Mentor Icebreakers. So Joe Pace Jr., the one you see with Mississippi, he became coach. And the team kind of struggled a little bit that season, 25-32-2, which was good for fourth. downturn in attendance, which was to be expected with the team kind of struggling. But you had Dalton J and Robertson both scoring 43 goals and both posting over 100 points that year. So it was an exciting team. Chris Paulin joined the team that year. That was his first year as a Prowler. Also, Brian Parsons, Austin Federley. So, yeah, you see a lot of these names, you recognize this team has been around and together for a long time. 2019 to 2020, the season that we don't like to speak about because of what happened in March. The team was playing really well, and then everything got shut down. They were 32-14-0 in second place. They were drawing well. They had 1036 average attendance. Dalton Young had joined the team. Blake Scott, he got traded to the team and went 9-0. 287 goals against. He was undefeated as a Prowler goaltender. So that was pretty wild. And then it just what could have been. Again, you got to ask. COVID shuts everything down. Following season, of course, there's all the travel restrictions. So a couple of teams had folded. 4 teams said, "Yeah, we can play a shortened season." So Port Huron is one of those teams. They play for the Ignite Cup. Fake name. I like Columbus, but yeah. Anyway, so a shortened season. The team goes 8-14-2. They finished last among the 4 teams. Joe Devaney, this was his first season, and Joe Pace at the end of the year leaves Port Huron to start as CEO of the Mississippi Seawolves for the upcoming season. So, actually, it'd be a year before he did that. But anyway, so Matt Graham becomes the next coach. So now it's like, okay, we had Karasiewicz, Pace Sr., Pace Jr., and then Matt Graham. Matt Graham is the 4th coach in 10 years. In the Fed, that's not bad. All right, so in 21 to 22, team kind of struggled. It was tough getting back. The fans came back though. Look at that, 1483. At that point, that was the best that the Prowlers had drawn up to then. But they were struggling. They finished 6th out of a 7-team league. They ended up going to the playoffs against Carolina. And they would end up losing the series 0-2, no games to 2-0. Both games they lost 4-3, so it was close, but no cigar against a very hungry Carolina team who finished 3rd that year. So Evan Foley, this was his first year with the team. All right, so then we move to the 22-23 season. The team draws the best it has. Now, factored into those stats was one exhibition game that was played in Baton Rouge that had about a 7,000 fan turnout. But still, that's one game out of 28. For the other 27, they drew pretty well. It was 1643. Team finished 28-24-4, which was 4th in the Continental. Faced the Carolina Thunderbirds. You're starting to see a theme here. Lost 2-0. The first time they had lost to Carolina, I forgot to mention, that was during the 2018 to 2019 season. Lost to Carolina 2-0. So again, they lose 2-0. But this was a fantastic series. This included Tucker Scantlebury scoring 4 goals in a game, all in a matter of like 12 minutes. 3 of those games, it was a natural hat trick. 3 of those goals came in a 2:28 span. I remember this. And then, he scored again to send the game into overtime. Carolina wins in overtime. So, you're starting to see a theme, losing to Carolina in the playoffs. All right, so last season, they go in. They're thinking, okay, we got a little bit more complete goaltending. We're going to compete this year. Record's a little bit better, 28-22-6, third place in the Continental. And again, they face Carolina. This time, game 1, they won. This is the first time in the playoffs they had beaten Carolina. So they went in with, went to Carolina with great expectations. Lost a heartbreaker in game 2, and then game 3, a double overtime loss. So again, Carolina's had Port Huron's number, but it's been competitive series. It's just they can't get over that hump for some reason. All right, so Liam Freeborn led the team last year with 59 points. The goaltending seemed to be pretty good. You had Tucker Tynan, who had great numbers, but he battled injuries. I don't know if he's going to be back next year. I think that's one of the keys for this upcoming year. We're going, what's going to happen in 24-25? Well, I think you need big years from both Evan and Connor Foley. You need the core to not just hold its own. I think you need a little bit extra production. Yes, they're getting older. Yes, they've been around a long time. But these are still very talented players. Dalton Jay, Alex Johnson, Matt Graham. You have Adam Heinzel on the blue line. You have Scantlebury coming back. You have Frank Schumacher. You've got a lot of experience, that can play to your advantage because these guys know what it takes to win in the Fed. So we'll see what happens. I think they need a good, steady leader in goal to get them over the hump. And this is going to be a very tough year. You've got a 7-team division. The Empire division is going to be very, very tough. Well, both divisions are going to be tough, but this is the first time where you have 6 teams that are not going to make the playoffs. So, it's 8 teams out of 14. So it's going to be a very competitive year. I think Port Huron's going to be fighting and clawing for a playoff spot. Right now, it's early August, so it's too early to tell. At this moment, I would think they're kind of on the bubble, and they need something. But there's time. There's 2 months left in the off season. They could acquire somebody by trade. They could end up signing a surprise player. Anything can happen. So we will see. So, year 10, can they return to that cup win? Can they win another one? We'll see. All right, I hope you enjoyed this. A brief look at the Prowlers. Again, like I said, throughout the month, I'll be also looking at Watertown and Danbury. And tomorrow, just want to preface this real quick. I didn't have a video on Saturday because the information I had was just all kind of whacked up. So I got some clarification. Tomorrow's video, yes, I'm going to have a video tomorrow, Monday. We are going to talk about this point seeding system and what it really looks like. Is it as big of a deal as people are making it out to be? Is it going to have the impact that the league hopes that it has? We'll talk about that on Monday. As for now, it is Sunday, so I will wrap this up. Gary Ryan here for the Fed League Flash. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Comment down below about what do you think about the Prowlers' chances this year. All right, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you again tomorrow.